Good day, this is George McCaslin. I am the online moderator for the Dad's House Educational Group. Today we will be reviewing the article on retroactive child support in the Dad's House Manual.
Exactly what is retroactive child support and why is it ordered? I was recently informed that I have a 10-year-old daughter. Her mother lost her job and now wants child support back to the birth of the child, but apparently there's a 5-year limit in her state. The mother was a girlfriend from college, but a few months after we graduated and moved to different cities for our careers, she stopped communicating with me. I thought she had just found someone new, but as it has turned out, she was apparently pregnant and decided she was going to raise our daughter alone. I was served with papers to establish paternity and informed that I am not to liquidate any of my assets, or transfer title to any property until there is a determination of paternity and child support. At that point I will be required to pay 5 years of retroactive child support, and if I'm unable to pay the amount immediately, my assets will need to be attached and or liquidated for the amount. If I'm doing the calculations correctly, and if I am the father, I will owe $54,000 at the onset of the order, plus 7.2% a year simple interest on the arrears, for a total of $79,717 owed. I don't have that much in the bank, or even in assets even if I liquidated them all. I'm now married with children. I have no idea yet what they will do to my family, let alone any chance of sending my children to college. Is it me, or does that sound just a little crazy?
In 1997, a naval commander, stationed in San Diego, California, went to the bank to cash a check as there were not too many ATMs in those days. His bank informed him that they cannot honor his check as the account had been frozen due to him not paying his child support. This was a surprise to him, as he was married with 4 boys at home. There was not a child support order against him. However, to his surprise, an order had been filed, with a demand for $85,000, owed to a woman he had not seen since his college days. He and his family were about to enter the twilight zone of retroactive child support. A father's story. In the case of the San Diego naval commander, he had begun his career in the 80s by attending UCLA as a member of the Naval Reserve Officers Training Corps. As so many young men attending a university, he had a girlfriend, who in today's term, came with benefits. As he had his career planned out, he was in the habit of using a condom to avoid the potential problems that could affect his future. They had spoken about having children, but his position was that they were too young at that point to be considering a long-term commitment and parenthood. He believed they needed to finish their education and start their careers before any discussion of this type need take place. Besides, who knows where their relationship will be by the time they graduate. One day he came back to their apartment to find a note and all her belongings gone. She had gone home to her family in Nebraska and did not wish to hear from him as she felt it would be best. He did try, but her family rebuffed any attempts, so he gave up. He finished his time at UCLA, going on to the Naval Academy, where he met a young woman living in town. After finishing his training there, they got married, and eventually had 4 boys. Though they had to move around some, as he was transferred to different assignments, they finally settled down in San Diego and bought a house. Years went by until that fateful day arrived, when he tried to cash a check and learn the family checking account and all other savings, including the college fund they had started for the boys, were frozen. Child support enforcement will often take these moves to prevent a father from transferring assets before paternity can be established and the support order set. After this is done, then the assets are drained to meet the obligation. He appealed the retroactive order all the way to the California Supreme Court in Sacramento, only to be denied. He was on the hook for 14 years of retroactive child support. Their liquid assets was not enough to cover the order, so a lien was placed on their home, and a 50% attachment was made on his military income to cover current support, plus a portion going toward the arrears. This left him unable to afford the home, so it was foreclosed on by the bank, ruining his credit. He had to move his family from the 4-bedroom house into a 2-bedroom apartment on the naval base, a major change of circumstance for the family. With the applied annual interest penalties on the amount still left owing at the end of each year, he calculated it would take him 15 to 20 years to pay it off completely.
What is retroactive child support?
Originally a part of the Child Support Act of 1988, then Commissioner of the Federal Office of Child Support Enforcement, Judge David Gray Ross, opposed the application to cases involving new filings by women who were not married to or lived with the father of the child. He saw this as an excessive burden to be placed on a man who may or may not have knowledge of the existence of the child. His prediction that this is what would happen quickly became true. All states permit collecting child support back to the date of the first filing of the motion and/or to the point when the parents separated. However, the vast majority have statutes that allow for the collection of support for periods preceding the filing in paternity cases if the parents never lived together. Often, these cases involve the commonly called one-night stand, where a man met a woman in a bar, and after a few drinks together, they have a fling for the night, sometimes waking up in the morning and wondering who this person is. Questions.
What are the restrictions for collecting retroactive child support?
A court is not required to grant retroactive child support at all. In deciding whether to grant such an award, the court will look at several factors, including the past behavior of both parents, the effect of an award on the parent who has to pay, whether the other parent was avoiding paying support, why it took so long to file a claim for child support. The court may also limit the amount of the retroactive child support award based on the particular circumstances of your case. However, it should not be expected that this would mean the order would not be put into effect.
Does prior child support paid reduce my child support obligation?
Once the court decides how far back to make the award, money paid during that time may be subtracted from the final award. However, not all states require this. In Illinois, it is subtracted, whereas in Ohio, anything paid without a court order is considered a gift.
Will an award of retroactive child support reduce future child support?
Retroactive child support is always granted in addition to regular child support. It cannot be used to reduce future payments.
Up to what age can a father be named to generate a child support award?
This is dependent upon state law. Under the Family Support Act of 1988, at the minimum a mother has until the child turns 18 to request paternity to be established, and for child support to be ordered. However, states extend this even longer. At the minimum, it is age 19. However, states like Ohio allow it up until age 23.
Can the child file themselves to establish paternity and gain a child support award?
Prior to the age of majority for an individual state, the child has no standing in the court to take such an action. Only a parent has this power. However, once the child has reached the age of majority for their state, they can file up until the limit of state statutes. For states where the age of majority is 18, then the child has 1 to 5 years to file, depending on the state. The one exception to this would be the state of Mississippi. The state limit is age 21, however the age of majority in Mississippi is also age 21, thus the child has no standing to take any action.
How long of a period can retroactive awards cover?
In a few states, retroactive awards of this type are not allowed, period. However, that is not the norm. The state of Florida allows awards of up to 2 years, while Illinois has no specific limit. Ohio is 18 years, while Texas is 5 years. Overall, 5 years is the standard for most states. In addition to the award, a simple interest penalty can be added for each year, ranging from 3% to 18%, also depending on the state.
What does the state gain from child support?
The states benefit from these types of awards, as they are allowed to claim 15% annually in federal matching funds under the Federal Child Support Enforcement Act, not all of which is spent on enforcement. That means in the case of the Navy commander, the state would receive $12,750 in matching funds at the time of the order. Further, by the time he paid it off, they will have additionally received over $183,000 in federal matching funds, plus over $45,000 in annual interest penalties from the commander, for a total of over $240,000, nearly $250,000, and that is for just one case. In 2010, the children of David Wren, ages 18 and 22, were allowed to sue their father for $134 million in retroactive child support. However, this case was a little different in that, since 1988 the father had paid the mother $18,000 a month in child support. Unfortunately, he paid it without a court order, so it was considered a gift. What to do in these cases can get complicated. 1. If married, immediately separate all joint assets held with your wife. One of the earliest moves taken in these cases is to freeze all assets held by the potential obligor, as these can be attached after confirmation of paternity. 2. Put together as detailed financial records as possible for the years covered by the order. You will need this to challenge the use of just your current income for setting a retroactive order dating back up to 18 years. Consider what that would mean for a man who was a burger flipper, earning minimum wage 18 years ago, and is now a multiple franchise owner making over $1 million a year. 3. Find an attorney that specializes in retroactive child support cases. This is not an issue you want to try to handle on your own. 4. If the child is under the age of majority, file for parental rights. Considered filing a lawsuit against the mother for alienation of affection and denying you the right to know your child.
That concludes a review of this article from the Dad's House Manual. When using the manual, please consider clicking on the Facebook and Twitter links at the top to share this material with those in your social network. There are over 40 million divorced and single fathers in America, most of whom are searching around for help in the issues found in this manual. Also, fathers are a frequent target of the media and politicians, inciting what they think is wrong with America. They blame us for fatherless children, even though 40% of divorced single mothers deny fathers access to their children. They call us deadbeat dads, even though only 3% of those ordered to pay child support flatly refuse to do so. They claim that millions of single mothers are not getting child support, without mentioning that 75% of single mothers never applied for any, either due to them cohabiting with the father or not knowing who the father is. If we are to curb the negative picture presented about fathers, then fathers need to be expressing their opinions on it. You can be doing that by writing letters to your politicians and to the editorial page of local and national newspapers. These links will teach you how to do just that. Consider doing it at least once a month. We cannot make our voices heard if we are not willing to speak up. Consider checking out the Zazu stores for Dad's House and Second Wife Club for items to give as gifts or to express your opinion on fathers' rights. First, we have the main Dad's House store with items of appreciation for fathers. From there, we have the Second Wife Club, also for items of appreciation that you would want to give to a stepmother. Then we have the Father's Rights page, which are items for expressing one's opinion on the father's rights issues. And finally, the Other Face of Abuse store, addressing the issues of male victims of domestic violence. For yourself, take the time to study all the material found here, for only through knowledge do we gain power over our lives. Naturally, this material is available for anyone to use, regardless of what group you are a member of, if any group. But if you have not already done so, consider joining Dad's House to discuss these issues with other fathers and learn from each other's experiences. Naturally, second wives and anyone who knows a father in trouble is also welcome. There is no cost to join and use our materials. Also check out the Second Wife Club for stepmothers.